Welcome in, I'm Artris. Hi, I almost didn't want to make this video because I didn't want to come across as only complaining or entitled or a little whiny on this regard. After sitting on this for what is probably about 3 or 4 days at this point, I think I want to talk about my experience at the One Piece NA Nats, the 2023 Championship Finals, right? Held at it was the Bandai Card Games Fest in Los Angeles. So yeah, this event was hyped up to be the best of the best. Participating at this tournament, that's around going to be like 2,000-ish people. A fair amount of people in this tournament received invites from topping either top 16 or top 32 on like online regionals or even offline regionals as well. So there was a fair amount of people that I got invites to this tournament, the One Piece Card Game Nationals. I guess NA Nats is what we're calling it, right? And so for what I suppose is probably a good portion of 8 to 9 months, a lot of people are excited about playing Nats, getting the chance to represent North America at the World Championship. And so there's a lot of hype put into this tournament, so much so that it is being held at the Bandai Card Games Fest in Los Angeles. So of course Bandai thinks that this is very important as well, and everyone's excited. There's a fair amount of people that were able to get in afterwards. Once they opened it up to the public, you could get into the game, get into the tournament for free, I believe, just signing up online and then hopefully getting in that way, or either through a lottery. So there are a fair amount of people that are playing in this event, not only just the people that have qualified. And this is a very interesting concept, but also at the same time, this is a tournament that could be open to the entire public. Maybe somebody that is new to the game is looking to get into it and they've scored their ticket to be able to play in this tournament. So this, for a lot of people, was also their very first experience with a large scale tournament, especially one of this size. So my whole point here being, there's a lot of hype behind it, right? And there's a lot of people with expectations for something grandiose. We get in, or I get in, around 9 o'clock on Saturday, the day of the tournament, the One Piece National Tournament. And I have a 2-round bye, so I don't have to play, or I'm not expected to play until 11 o'clock. But I get there early. I believe they wanted players to be there around 9 anyway, just to be on site in case of anything. So I'm there waiting with some friends for about, I would say, 30 minutes. I get there around 8:30, and 9 o'clock comes, and we still haven't started the tournament. There's not really news on why we haven't started yet. Nothing's been announced, but we're still waiting. We just wait. We're being patient. A couple of my friends that I was with, this was like their first time playing in a large tournament, so they have a lot of anticipation, a lot of nerves going on. Of course, the longer we go on waiting in this for whatever the tournament start is going to be, it just gets worse. So that being said, we're sitting there waiting. It's been about, I don't know, an hour or so, and it turns out that they accidentally included some of the people that got buys, the 2-round buys, into the actual tournament itself, and so they had to go through their system and remove those people and try again. And it was a huge, long wait for this. It ended up being, overall, I believe it was like a 4-hour wait. I don't think people started their matches until, I want to say like 12 or maybe even 1. I know that I didn't play my first match until like 3 o'clock, so I think it started around 1, maybe 12. And so we're sitting there for a good 4 hours, kind of wondering what is going on, right? There's not really an announcement, like I said. We kind of have to go and talk to other people and kind of hearsay what's going on. And so after they're going through this and they found that this is a problem where there's these 2-round bye players in the first round, they just completely scrap the tournament altogether. You don't see it on your Best Coast pairing app. We're kind of really just wondering, is this tournament even happening at this point? Because they completely deleted everything, including the roster and whatever it may be. So that's a lot of work to put into the tournament again for them to try to find everybody and then give everyone a bye. So everyone's a little bit confused on what's going on, and eventually we see the tournament actually pop back up on the Best Coast pairings app. And this time, everyone that has a 2-round bye is not on the tournament at the time. So they seem to have it fixed, and with that, they get started with the first round. And so during that time, I end up just walking around the venue. I know a few other people had left to go get lunch around that time because it was just, like I said, fiasco, just waiting to see when we were going to play. So getting an idea of that, it'll be about 2 hours from the beginning of the tournament. Let's just walk around, see what we can do, see if there's anything that we can check out. And of course, the Bandai Cards Game festival, the Los Angeles Convention Center is not a small venue, but for having a small section of that venue, setting it up for just general games that are coming out like Union Arena or Digimon or Battle Spirit Saga and even One Piece. It was kind of well put together. You know, they definitely put some effort into the whole display. Unfortunately, they didn't allow like anything to happen before 1 o'clock, so I wasn't able to really participate in the scavenger hunt, but if you were able to get some really cool prizes. However, once it opened up at 1, the lines just flooded in, and basically they had to cut off the selling of One Piece boxes and instead limit it to 5 packs because they ran out of stock, I think just from the very beginning. And then, of course, if you're trying to get into the Union Arena demo, you couldn't get into that because within a matter of minutes, it was already booked for the entire day. And the most important one to the One Piece card game was definitely the side events that One Piece was participating in that had for people that maybe wanted to drop out of the tournament, the main one, or if they were in the venue area and weren't participating in the main tournament, they could participate in the side events. However, I think there was only like 6 side events, and within minutes, those were also booked to the point where anyone that was in the big tournament could not at that point safely drop out just to go, oh, I'll do another side event and maybe get prizing there. Didn't work that way. I actually saw that some people were complaining about this on social media where like someone flew out from the other side of the country expecting to be able to participate in side events and do this whole like extravaganza, like kind of like a con or a fest. And I felt really bad for that person. The fact that they had this expectation coming in and it just completely missed the mark on that regard. So if we're looking at the silver lining here, of course, they're in Los Angeles, and so if they can't participate in a tournament, then there is a whole multitude of different things they can do. But, of course, that's probably not exactly what they want to hear, especially if they're coming out here specifically for this. So that is a huge letdown, a huge bummer for those people that expected to participate in something, at least coming here. So, yeah, that happened, and then, of course, by that time, it was my turn to get to play. It was round 3. We got our 2-round buys over with, and we get matched up. And everything at this point is kind of smooth, you know, for the most part. And we sit down to play the first round, or I guess my first round, the third round at that point. And we're sitting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And this just seems to be the theme for the day. Everybody's just waiting. And eventually they find out that we need to be repaired because there were some XOs and X1s playing together in that third round, which doesn't mathematically work out. So they have to repair, and they announce it on the intercom, and we get repaired after that to the next person. And of course, this isn't really an issue. Repairs happen all the time. It's not really something that is a nuisance, but it does happen quite frequently, I would say, over the course of this tournament. Not only did we get a round 3 repairing, I believe we got a round 5 or maybe 6 repairing, and then also one more, what they called check your seat or confirm your seat. They didn't want to call it a repairing, I believe, just because they didn't want to piss anybody off at that point. But it was in round 10 as well. So we sat down for at least 3 rounds this day and had to get back up to go to someone else. And that, of course, doesn't take a small amount of time. That probably takes a good 30 minutes to get resituated and then get set up and then get going on the game. So these delays add up over time on top of the 4-hour delay that we started with. So as you can tell, there's probably a lot of fatigue going around this tournament. A lot of people that have not expected to be here for this long, maybe people that didn't get a lunch break. Everyone's dealing with this huge long day. It's very tiring. We get to round 10, but even before we get there, there's a point in the day where the announcer yells out, because there's a lot of rumors going around like, oh, we're a 4-hour delay, what's going on? Like, there's no way we finish this in one day. At this point, we'll finish by midnight. And at one point, an announcer goes on the intercom and yells out like, we will be having 11 rounds. There is no doubt. Like, I'm of course not verbatim saying what this person's saying, but kind of getting the idea of what they said. We will have 11 rounds. And so we're at that point, wow, this is crazy because we're expecting to go to midnight. And I don't think we have the venue for that long, to be honest. And find out that we don't actually have the venue for that long. I believe that they started kicking out people that were not participating in the tournament around 9 o'clock, which I believe was around round 10 time. And I know that there was some people around me that were getting ready to start, and the either the judges or the staff were like kicking people out. I don't think it was the judges. It was mostly staff that was just telling people to get out of the venue. There's people there that maybe have dropped out and are watching their significant other, and I know that somebody was getting harassed to leave the venue, but the problem was that the person that they were viewing or spectating was their ride back, and they're participating in the tournament. So there was a little bit of a situation there, nothing like too serious. At the most part, I think everyone was understanding, but it did almost seem a little hostile at times towards some of the people that they were trying to get out of the venue. And of course, an hour later, the entire venue just closes and they stop playing after 10 rounds. Going back to the person saying we will be playing 11 rounds, that was the expectation set, and then we instead played 10 rounds, which actually hurt some people in their math and getting top 64. I know that there is a decent chance of getting top 64 with a 9-2 record, but an 8-2 record is a little bit harder to guarantee to get into that top 64. And so some people, I believe, missed their opportunity to get into the top 64 with that last round being negated. And of course, everyone is just very upset, fatigued. They want to be done with the day. They were done with the day like in round 6 at that point, right? And so we just leave. We at the end of the day, I didn't make top 64, and my friends and I, at that point, we just left and we're like, okay, let's just go home and maybe we'll see about tomorrow. But on the way back, we talked about some of the things that we thought were a problem with this. And of course, the side events being a big one for some of the people that wanted to play if they wanted to drop. I think that the tables, that we made a mention that the tables were really hard to find. And I don't know why this was. I mean, there's numbers on the table and you kind of just go along, right? But I think having something to signify that everybody can visibly see, like, oh, this is row whatever, might have been a little bit better than a sheet of paper on the table. But of course, that is just a small nitpick. I think that's pretty standard across the board. The one thing that was a little odd to me, though, was that there were no round timers. At least I didn't see any. And I usually figure that there's going to be round timers to know exactly how much time you have left in the match. And I also think for the first couple of games of the day, I don't think that there was like a end of time announcer, but if there was, I completely missed it. So I think that was a little bit concerning, but I know that later on in the day, there was somebody saying, oh, we have, that is the end of time, go to like end of time procedures. So at least there was that for the later half of the day, but I don't remember in the beginning half. The big one though was the round timers. Not seeing exactly how much time you had left was a little bit confusing for, I'd say, a lot of people. So yeah, there's some things that they definitely could have fixed, and I'm not exactly sure who the tournament organizer was. I know that some people talked about Play TCG. I know that Core TCG is in the LA area. They're also credited on the website, but I'm not exactly sure who is responsible for this, I guess, disaster, for lack of a better term. And so with that being said, like, I don't think that it's fair to really say, oh, somebody's job needs to go. This is a utter and huge disgrace to tournaments at a whole. This is Bandai's biggest tournament of the year, and we're having these insane delay times and just all these mistakes happening, and it's kind of confusing how something like this can happen. Like, who is organizing the tournament to the point where it feels like a novice hour? But it doesn't really matter to me who the tournament organizer is, because even if you point blame at them and say, hey, you messed this up, somebody's job needs to be on the line, I don't think that's the solution. I actually think that instead, whoever was organizing this tournament, we need to host more offline events to catch stuff like this, to make sure that we have a backup solution for things like this. I know that the 2-round bye was a big point of contention. I think it was a problem when trying to put it into the Best Coast Pairings app, which that is a huge mistake to use, in my opinion. I think that there's been a lot of people that have complaints with the Best Coast Pairing app. I know that RK9 doesn't have some of the issues that the BCP app has, and I'm not sure exactly how to fix that, but these things need to be pointed out, that the app is just horrendous. There is discrepancy between using it on your phone and like the actual app or going on the website. There was a bunch of mix-ups throughout the entire day. So I think that BCP either needs to be replaced or figured out what to do there. But that's a side tangent. Back to what I'm saying here is that I don't think somebody's job needs to be on the line, or that these TOs, they need to be nixed for what they're doing. Instead, give these people more offline tournaments to host, because you can actually catch some of this stuff through practice throughout the year. One of the problems that I think we have is that we don't have enough offline events, and I understand that these things cost money. And what's crazy to me with all of this like complaining on my side is that the entire event was free, which, back to the beginning of the video, I almost feel bad complaining about this because it was a free event. You get prizing for just participating. That alone is impressive, but I think it still warrants a good look at. Like, we need to evaluate how this tournament went, at least from a Bandai perspective. Say, are you happy with the actual way that this tournament ran? There was Bandai execs there, and I know that they saw what was going on, and so I'm not too sure they would be exactly happy about that. So maybe there is some change coming their way, especially with having boots on the ground and seeing what was going on. So my proposal is that we just have more offline tournaments. Once again, I know that it costs money, but I think that it's worth putting some money in based off of how much you can probably get in return from a company perspective, but then also just how much hype you get around this community, how much more practice you get, how much better the players will get over time. And then on top of that, you have all these events, you get to catch all these mistakes that might happen, and you know what to do when they do happen. So overall, I say that we just have more of these offline tournaments going into the next year. Hopefully that this is taken into consideration, because we can't let this happen again, where we have our huge tournament that's representing North America become an embarrassment. Yeah, sure, the second day, I think overall ran much more smoothly than the first day, but I don't think having half of the tournament be okay is an acceptable thing. So I don't know. I feel like this tournament could have been a lot better. This is something that I'm hoping that Bandai can fix. And I think that they know that the community cares a lot about this game, and I think that they also care a lot about this game. I hope they take good note for what happened for this Nats and just fix it going forward. If you have thoughts on how to fix this, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear what you guys have to say, because I know that I'm not alone in how I feel. If you found anything in this video useful or informative, please make sure to drop a like and a sub. It helps out the channel immensely. Also, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, please make sure to join the Discord. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next video.